Let me, just for learning purposes, let me go, okay, wait, I don't need that anymore. Unity, variable, variable scope. What is variable scope? Scope and access wonderful. What is this? Variable scope and access modifiers. What does that mean? Public variable, private variable, function start. This is not variable. Drop down list in inspector. I think that's what I wanna see. Public list variable drop down list in I think this is very similar. Probably been answered. How do you declare a variable in a script that would show up as a drop down list in the inspector? I want to make it so they can choose between one of a number of options. Enumeration. Enum mode 1, mode 2, mode 3. Variable. Um, hmm. Kind of to work on an if this statement. But this is. Death, explode, spiral, fall apart. Death, but this is keep hitting a brick wall. Enumerate. Direction type, clockwise, counterclockwise. Direction types. What your variables are? Okay. No, that's something else. But I want these to be strings. So is that gonna be weird? Maybe I don't want to do this. Enumeration. JavaScript. Use integers as a variable. What is the correct way to declare and use an enumerated variable in JavaScript? Or state. Assign any value from that enumerated variable of that type. Define the input parameter of a function. I don't think I want to do this. This seems like not the thing. Asleep. Oh. Hmm. Layer. You can also assign values to your individual enum elements. But that's not what I want to do. Because then I want to call, like I want to get from the variable. Oh, wait a minute. Enum layer. Game object. This game object layer equals 9. Layer equals layer protagonist. I don't think I want to do this. But then, what would I do? What would I do if I did do it? This scene, because then instead of a string, I don't know. I don't want to do this. Never mind. I don't want to do this. Let me interesting, but it's maybe I feel like it's more complicated. It's far more complicated than I want. Right? It's just an N32. A fixed bit. It's actually just an. If you use the enumerator as a variable type, the variable is actually just an integer behind the scenes. This is a fixed behavior. You can use the enumerator in an array with float variables and use the enumerator constants as its index to the array to get the float value. I don't think I want to do this. Okay, never mind. We're not doing this. So, alright, this is fine. Much better. Look at this. Much better. 1/3 the lines, and it's actually much better. Although we have to add a case for each of these, which is going to make this about, I don't know, 400 lines or 500 lines of code by the end. But that's fine with me. Button load scene. This is a little bit math. Public static variable. I mean, this is completely unfinished. So this script is pretty much finished. The other two are not quite. Alright, back to this. So what was I doing? I was thinking about going to town map, and this should go to town month 1. Gives me this. Let me just set up the cameras and things. So orthographic 360 00. Alright, that's fine. Canvas is world space 00 1280 720. Camera looks like that. Good. And this is 00 blah blah blah. Everything's fine. Great. So I was thinking, oh, I need to test event system. I need to test overlapping buttons, because I don't actually know how to, because the buttons are always rectangular, but I want to make it so that transparent parts are not buttons. But if I have one transparent part overlap another transparent part, or even have one transparent part overlap another solid part, and I click on that, how does the game decide what I'm clicking on? Would it recognize that I clicked through the transparent part to the other button underneath? I need to know how Unity handles this. So we're gonna open project, test 001, and we're gonna play with these buttons. So this, let me move the debug text, and let me make two more buttons. Button 0, button 2. I'm going to duplicate button 3. We're going to go overlap test 1. I'm going to move that to like there. And then we're going to go duplicate that, overlap test 2, and move that like somewhere useful. Let's say like that. And then we're going to have to write some scripts. I don't remember these scripts. Let me just close this. And then open these. Text pages, button overs. Okay, let me put the button overs. I need two more. Two more button overs. One for each of the new buttons. Oh wait, not that one. This one. Overlap test 1, overlap test 2. And the texture is that, and texture is that. And then change scene. Go scene 1, go scene 2. Go scene 3. So let me just tack on overlap test. So we go function overlap test. We need variable debug text. We do need the debug text. 1 and 2. Sure. So if we click on overlap test, if button, let me just go make two of them. Overlap test 1. Button texture 2, button texture. Button texture, button texture. Button texture 2, the button. That's embarrassing. Go scene 1, go scene 2. Yikes. Variable overlap test. Button 1. UI. No, don't do that. UI button. Overlap test 2 UI button. And we can just use the same button texture? Yeah, we can just use the same button textures. Overlap button 1. Overlap button 2. I'm not actually sure if this is right. Overlap button 1. Oops. Overlap button 1. Button texture 2. Or should it be 2 or 1? Oh no. It should be a 1, shouldn't it? Go scene 3. Button texture, button texture. Go scene 1, go scene 2. Go scene 3, it's the same texture. Anyway, that should be fine. Get pixel, target XY is greater than 0. Then debug text equals button overlap test 1 pressed, and then the other one 2 and 2 and 2. Oh, semicolon, my bad. Semicolon. JS change scene is already a definition for overlap test 1. Oh, this should be 2. Alright, so then overlap test button 1 should be that. Overlap 2 is that. Button texture 2 is placeholder house. Debug text, let me duplicate. Debug text 1. And then let me duplicate this. Debug text 2. What I want to do is have a reset as well. Debug text 2. And then debug text. Didn't I? Oh. Wait a minute. Debug text 1, 2. Let me just move those next to each other. Can I not move them there? Okay, good. UI scripts, debug text 1, debug text 2. And then I want a button to reset debug text. Change scene button overs. Just adding more and more stuff. Oh wait, this on click should overlap test 2, and that overlap button overs overlap test change scene overlap test 1. And then I need a new button. No, I don't need that. Function reset debug text brackets curly brackets, and this is go debug text equals debug text 1. What do I call it? Debug text 2. This is so incredibly messy, right? And then build all. Oh, I keep forgetting the semicolon. Wow. Build all. Alright, good. And then we need a game object UI button. Debug text reset home button. Debug text reset. Move that there, and the text is reset debug text like that. And then the button on click, we go change scene reset debug text like that. Save scene, and this should all be saved, right? Do it all. Okay, I'm gonna test this. So I want to see what happens when the buttons overlap, right? If I got that right. Let me see if I got this right. I might not have. Okay, the buttons kind of work. Look at that. Well, actually, we can kind of see already. So you see how here, the button, so the house in front is highlighted, the house behind is not. Even though, so the mouse is over both buttons, but the one behind is not counted. And even when I'm here, for example, in the clear bit, the button behind is not counted. It's only when I move out of the bounding box of the top button do I start activating the bottom button. So even the clear bits of the button block the button behind. So if I click on this, overlap test 2 pressed, good, reset. There, but you see I'm not clicking on the one below, only here, overlap test 1, oh wait a minute, why are they both, anyway, we'll finish the testing. So what's the problem here is that even if we account for the fact that we can make the transparent bits of the button not activate, we can't make it so that the transparent part of a button don't block the button behind it. Does that make sense? So there's a button behind it, and so the button on top should not block the button behind here, but it does. And to get around that would require a lot more scripting. A lot more scripting. Like a stupid amount of scripting, or just not using buttons and using something else. And this is going to be a major problem with non-rectangular buttons, because if we go, let me just fix this first. Debug text 2, debug, oh this should be a debug text 2 test. There you go. Build all. So yeah. Because if you imagine the town, I have an isometric view of the town, but because it's isometric, none of the buttons are rectangular. But let's say the church, for example, is next to the town hall. So the town hall, I can make it so that it's a button. It's not rectangular. Well, it's rectangular in Unity, but we say only when you click on that shape, you go to the town hall. And then the church, we can make it so that you click on that shape, you go to the town hall. But because the things are rectangular, if you want to put one on top of the other, you click on the transparent bit of the town hall button, thinking that you'll hit the church button, but you're actually still hitting the transparent bit of the town hall button. And so if we have overlapping buttons, you can't actually hit the church behind it because the town hall is on top of the church, or the town hall button is on top of the church button, and you can't hit the church because the transparent area still counts. Like this. Like if I try to hit the house behind, I can't do it because the bounding box is there. So what I'm trying to get at is that I might have to just avoid overlapping buttons at all costs, which means that there might be no point in making like custom buttons with wacky shapes for each building in the town, because it's just going to end up being that we can't use them because they'll overlap. So 2, 1. Like if I click on here, yeah. So that's the problem. Hopefully that's clear enough what the problem is. Save project, open project. So if we go back to 12 months, our good friend 12 months. And I'm just gonna close all this and open the scripts again. Go back to here. So the town still here. I can if I make this the town hall button, the rectangular box is gonna be this big, and then this part of the church won't count as the church. If I make the church button, it's gonna be this big, and that would block most of the buildings behind. Even if I make it so that only clicking on the actual church will activate the church, and that leaves like this a little bit bigger and leaves that a little bit bigger. But the rectangular area is still going to block most of that house, and then it becomes not viable as a button. Well, first of all, I need to kind of space everything out anyway. But yeah, what it means is that I don't think it matters. Like I don't think having irregularly shaped buttons matters because you can't overlap them anyway. Not if you want them to work. I kind of want to take a break. I want to take a break again. I can mix some buttons. Okay, well let's not take a break just yet. Let's just make some buttons, shall we? And we'll just keep this simple. Not any fancy buttons. So if we go game object UI button, it's that big. And then we just make stuff like this and just say button mechanic. And the text is mechanic. Right? And then we duplicate and we say button diner. And the text is diner. And so we just kind of do, oh crap, don't move the text, move the whole button. So if we do this, for example, and just have labels, and so instead of clicking on the actual buildings, you click on the labels, it looks pretty ugly like this. I guess I can make it look better maybe. It's going to be a little bit ugly either way, so I need to think about how to make it look better. So for example, button school. So then if we do this, then we can keep the buttons clearly separate. But then we have floating words everywhere, and so I need to figure out how to make that look good. Which, ultimately I think it's okay. Duplicate button abandon the house. Can I fit the whole word? Abandon the house? Yes, I can. So there's the abandoned house back there. And then there's the writer house. It's not a writer, it's like an author. Writer. I guess he's a writer. He writes. Duplicate. That's the diner factory, so diner house. But the diner family lives back there. The diner. See, even this, I might need to. Like, diner house, what does that mean? I can call it mechanic house. In my internal documents, they're called diner house. Mechanic's house. Writer's house. The thing is, a lot of the families, like both parents are like have different jobs, and so then if you call it, for example, the mechanic's house, well, both the mechanic and the restaurateur at the diner live here, so like it's like why do you privilege one person over the other? So like the mayor's house, well, both the mayor and the teacher live there. Like why do you privilege the mayor over the teacher? So it's a bit weird, but I can't really think of a better way to do this. So past the house. And we move that there. Anyway, duplicate. I mean, it's not too bad. We can, if we make the buttons prettier, it'll be okay, I guess. Mayor house. Mayor house, and then duplicate shop shopkeeper house, and this is a shopkeeper's house, like that, and then duplicate doctor house. The doctor's house is there, and then there's the player house, and this is just your house. So the player house is that one, and then we duplicate this, and then there's the clinic. Clinic. Let me just move these to the side. Diner, so it's like not right on top of things, right? School. The writer's house, the mechanic's house, the pastor's house. Alright, duplicate button shop, and text is shop. So, no, don't move the text, move the whole button. Shop, and then duplicate button park. The park is there. Duplicate the church. Church is there. Duplicate town hall. This is town hall. And then there's also the cemetery, which is behind there, which is kind of weird. So we can, even here we can see the cemetery is way too cramped. So we're going to duplicate, there's also a beach behind the town. So button cemetery is behind there. And then duplicate button beach. There's not, the beach is not really visible here. But there is supposed to be a beach behind the town, like a beach back there. I think, yeah, that's all the locations. So that's all the locations, and we made a bunch of buttons. Good. Can I collapse all? Or do I do it manually? There must be a collapse all anyway. So we collapse all these buttons. And just image. This is the background.